Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of TUF Coffee Shop Talk. I'm your host, Rhonda Lavoie. You know, as real estate agents, we're constantly looking for ways to cut through the noise, attract ideal clients, and build a sustainable business. And one of the biggest questions that comes up, often causing a lot of debate, is too niche or not too niche? That is the question. This week, we're going to dive deep into the different ways you can define your market focus in real estate. We'll explore why specializing might be a secret weapon for some, and why others, like me, find success by operating with a broader but still intentional approach. It's not about one size fits all, it's about what works for you and your market. We'll talk about the pros and cons and how building strategic referral partnerships can make any approach more powerful. If you've ever felt like you're trying to be everything to everyone, or you're just looking for that clarity to truly stand out, then you're in the right place. If you're finding value in these conversations, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. So let's get started. Have you ever considered narrowing down your focus in your business? That's really what we're talking about here, is really specializing in a specific target. You know, it could be, like in real estate, it could be a neighborhood or an area. It could be a type of property. It could be a type of client. So like a type of property would be, a condo specialist or acreages, farm. Type of client could be first-time home buyers or, downsizing seniors. These are very specific niches. We'll just call them that. And, it's something that some agents choose to do because it makes sense for them. It's something that they're, passionate about. And that truly is why you might decide to take a niche. Of course, there's other pros to it and other strategic things that come along with that. But I would encourage you to really dig deep into yourself to decide, is a niche or does a niche make sense for you? I actually recently went on this journey, and that's why I'm actually doing this podcast. I recently considered doing a niche. I considered going 100% with acreage properties and, solely focusing on that. But when I kind of stepped back from it, although it would be, probably beneficial to me from a strategic perspective, in, the dollars and cents, if you will, I could probably make a very good go of it and be quite profitable if I did do that niche. I'm not sure I would be happy only doing that niche. And that's important to me. I want to be able to enjoy what I do for a living. And I promise you, I really, really do. I enjoy being a real estate agent. So just only doing acreage properties removed an element for me that really made me happy. And part of that is first-time home buyers. I love first-time home buyers. I really enjoy working with them. Not enough to only work with first-time home buyers, but I want them as a part of the mix that I work with. So for you, I want you to consider, what type of business do you actually want to run? Do you want to be a specialist, deeply focusing on, a particular client or property? Or do you want to operate more as a generalist, serving kind of a broader range of needs? To help you ponder that question, I do have a few things to talk about here. Some things that will help you understand, if you do want to go down that path, just some pros and cons. So some of the upsides to it would be, if you have a niche, you can have real clarity in targeting your marketing and your messaging. When you know exactly what your ideal client is, or, what properties it is that you're trying to focus on. So say like first-time home buyers or luxury condos, rural properties, acreages like I was talking about, or maybe investors, your marketing becomes so much sharper. You can speak directly to the pain points of those things, those desires, and make that message, really resonate deeply with them. which will then in turn attract more of that ideal client for you. And then while doing that, you become the expert. You know, when you have that specialized knowledge and you're focused solely on that, your purpose and your position in the market will become very, very clear. And people will be seeking you out because you are that specialist. You're that go-to for that. So as an example, if say you are the specialist in condos, you're going to know, off the top of your head, which ones will allow pets and what kind of pets, or, can you sublet these ones, or which ones are seeing their condo fees go up because they, reserve fund study was just done. Which property then can you align with which client? Another pro would be, you're reducing that competition. Instead of competing with every other agent and every single client, you're now operating kind of in that smaller pond. You're dominating a chosen segment, making it easier to stand out. You'll then, of course, have a higher conversion rate because your marketing is so targeted. Your expertise is so clear. You naturally attract more qualified leads because they're coming specifically for what it is that you provide. And lastly, I have efficiency and streamlined processes. So when you're doing similar type of deals repeatedly over and over and over again, your knowledge will be able to make that process so much clearer and more efficient. But of course, there's always the cons that come with, having a niche or having that specialized area. And one of them, which is kind of fun, is that FOMO, so that fear of missing out. And this is probably why a lot of agents don't do it. It's because they fear saying no to business will reduce the amount of business they have. And you need to pay attention to this. And it's real because you need to also make sure that if you're going to niche, that segment of business has enough business for you to be able to, hit the goals that you have, the targets and goals that you have financially. So, look at how big is your local market. If you were to niche down, how much of that specific market share would you actually need to be successful at? And is that realistic? So, if you have a goal to sell, say, 20 properties a year, and in your market, there are only, let's say, 200 condos selling, I'm going to continue with the condo focus. Is it realistic for you to get 10% of that business? Is that realistic? And if so, then great. But if not, maybe that niche doesn't necessarily make sense. But back to my first point about the fear of missing out, some agents feel like, well, if they say no to business because say they have someone come to them that doesn't want a condo, then, that's money that they're throwing out the window. But we're going to talk about that, ways to solve that problem a little bit further in the podcast. Another con would be, that initial setup time and effort. It takes time to create that focus. It takes time to be able to get your messaging out there and see that return. But it does take that investment up front. Next thing would be market vulnerability. If your very specific niche market experiences a significant slowdown, say, condos actually is a really good example. The condo market in Saskatoon can be probably more volatile than single family homes. We see, high demands and then long slowdowns. At least that's been my experience so far in the last 13 years. Or say you're in new construction and that slows down, there's definitely going to be some vulnerability there when things shift and change. So you'll need to be aware of that. And then burnout, if you're not passionate about it. And this is kind of brings me back to that first topic, is you really need to ask yourself, what niche are you generally interested in? Will you truly be happy selling that niche for long term? Because if your heart isn't in it, even if it means, financially you're going to be successful, you'll probably burn out because you're just not happy doing what you're doing. So if you're wanting to niche, make sure that your heart is in it. And the same goes for if you're not going into a niche. Like say you're doing that FOMO where you're like staying open and doing everything because you're fearful that you're not going to be successful financially. Maybe you should be niching because your heart will be in it more, and you don't want to sell acreage properties as an example, and they don't make you happy. Maybe you should niche into the condo market because that will help you stay focused and, genuinely be happy with what it is that you're doing. Because that's truly a huge part in life, no matter what it is that you do. If you can find something that truly lights you up and makes you happy, you will be a million times more successful at it because you want to be doing it. So it's crucial to understand that not everybody needs to niche down to a single hyper-specific area. My personal journey is an example of that. I actually don't niche in the traditional sense. Like I said, I considered it, but I don't. But I operate with kind of a clear focus on certain property types, and ultimately my business is built around creating strong relationships. So it's not even market focused so much. It's about the people. So it's about what works for you in your business and your market. For me, I deal in single properties, residential. I'm technically licensed in commercial and farm, but I wouldn't touch those with a 10-foot pole just because they don't interest me. And I know that I wouldn't be bringing my best for my clients. And that's truly what's important to me. So that type of business is business that I refer out. When you're starting in real estate, and we're all there one time, I get that you need to try those things. How do you know that you don't like them if you don't try them? So I get in the beginning that it's harder to, you may not want to narrow your focus, and by all means, please don't. But I will highly encourage you to find a mentor or find somebody to work alongside so that you can ensure your clients are well looked after in those early days when you don't know exactly what you're doing. And that's single family homes or, commercial farm, whatever it might be. When you're starting, find somebody to work with that will help you be at your best. It's not about doing the work for you. It's about teaching you and walking alongside with you to learn these things. So I've come up with a few things to help you decide, what do you want your market focus to be? So first I have identify your passion and existing expertise. So start with what you genuinely excites you, or what you already know a lot about. For me, I built our own home, so single family homes, really, I do know a lot about them. I know how they work. I know the things to look out for. I've experienced all the good, the bad, and the ugly going through building my own home. And it's something that truly interests me, obviously, or I would not have built my own home. So find something that you definitely know a lot about and excites you. Is it helping first-time home buyers navigate the anxiety? That's definitely something that I love to do. Or perhaps the ins and outs of luxury properties, or the unique charm of a specific neighborhood. Maybe it's investment properties, seniors downsizing, or maybe a specific property type like condos. We've talked about single-family homes, acreages. Where does your authentic interests lie? What fuels you? Next, you'll want to research the market viability. So once you have a few ideas of potential areas of focus, do your homework. This is really important. You need to research, how many properties are selling in that niche. Some of these are going to be hard when it comes to, first-time home buyers, etc. But do the best you can in doing this homework. Is there enough demand for that specific focus in your local area to society? Now, and is there enough there to give you the income that you're, looking for? Does it achieve your goals? And are there already people, are there already agents in that market, and are they dominating that area? Can you compete against them? And be real with yourself. I'm not saying to be down on yourself saying I can never be like that, but be realistic. Do you see yourself competing with someone that is already dominating that market? Now, develop a deep knowledge, whether you're going broad or narrow. Become the absolute expert in your chosen area or areas of focus. Dive deep. We've had other podcasts about this where we talk about, making sure that you're learning all of the things and staying informed on current market changes, etc. Regardless of what focus you take, this is key in real estate, and it's key in business in general. Obviously, you need to stay on top of all of these things. Now you're going to tailor your marketing. Speak directly to your ideal client. Talk about their unique pain points, desires, aspirations within your defined focus. Make sure your website, social media, all the conversations that are happening are around that client. And this is true of if you have a very specific focus or not. Unless you're being extremely broad, which I don't recommend. And when I say extremely broad, I mean you're doing all the things. You're doing farm, you're doing commercial, you're doing residential, and in residential you're doing acreages and condos and single family homes, you're doing first time home buyers, you're doing investors, you're doing all of the things. Unless you're being extremely broad and that in real estate, you will have a hard time, defining your client. And again, I don't recommend that. So for me, my niche, let's call it, is just single family homes. So the people within single family homes, I don't touch real estate and I don't touch commercial and I don't touch farm, so then I can create that target ads and that target messaging towards my ideal client. So when I say this, and this last point here is really important actually. When I say I don't go into farm and commercial, it's not that I don't have clients coming from those areas, and it's not that I don't make money in those areas, but I do it in a different way. I refer that business out, just the same as I refer business out if it's too far away from my area. I will find good referral partners in the commercial and farm space as an example, and they're my go-to people. And I will send them that business. And then if they are able to close those transactions, I will get a referral fee back from that. So when you're defining your niche or coming up with what it is that you are looking to, how you're creating your business, determining those referral partners is a strategic piece. It shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be a part of the plan. So take some time to think about that. Find those partners. Go for coffee with them. Really figure out if they are a fit for you and will provide the service to your client the way that you would, that they're a good match. So I've said this to you guys kind of already, but for me personally, I found a balance that works really well. I don't niche in the sense of limiting myself to just, one hyper specific thing. Instead, I like selling in about 3 spaces: the condo, single family home, and acreages. And honestly, like I said earlier, I focus most on helping my client and less on where. For example, I have a past client who I'm helping sell their home at a lake, and that property is a little bit further away than I would normally work. I would never actively go after business in that specific lake area because it's outside my core focus. But because they're my past client and people I genuinely care about, I do it. And having said that, if I felt for a moment that that area was truly too far out of my comfort zone, or I couldn't provide the absolute best service and knowledge, local knowledge that they needed, I would, without hesitation, refer out that trusted partner to a trusted partner. It's always about ensuring the client is looked after. And if I can't do the best work, then I find someone who can. So whether you decide to niche down to a very specific hyper-focused market, or you focus on a few key property types like I do, or operate more as a generalist, the key is to be intentional about your market focus. Define it. Understand it. Understanding the pros and cons of each approach. Identifying your passion and building strong referral partnerships will empower you to create a business that truly serves you and your clients. Well, that concludes our episode this week. Thanks so much for being here. It really does mean a lot to me. If you haven't already, please subscribe or hit that follow button, as I would love it if you came back for week to week. And if you're really loving these conversations, I'd be absolutely thrilled if you could take a moment and leave a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. Just go ahead and click on that 5th star and give us an incredible review. I'd love it. If you're looking for more information on the membership, you can check out tufinstitute.com. If you want more information on me and my real estate business, you can check out rhondalavoy.exprealty.com. Looking for me on socials, I'm on Instagram, rhondalavoy_TUF, as in TUF, and on Facebook, just as my name, Rhonda Lavoy. Reach out anytime. I'd love to hear from you. I really hope you all have a marvelous day, and I can't wait to bring you another episode next week.